Hey guys, welcome back. This is part two of how to do isolation well. Part one, well, we could call it part one. I did with Hannah, and she was, expanding on the food bank. I was talking about how practically you could apply yourself to doing isolation well. This time I want to change the focus a little bit. I'll do it in two parts. One on what to look for, and part two will be on what you can do about avoiding the pitfalls that we can actually come into with isolation. So what is isolation is exactly that. It's being isolated, okay? As human beings who have, basic needs, basic need of connection, of being loved, of being significant. Probably these three are ones that can be quite affected badly when we are disengaged or isolated from others. We can get spiritually isolated. We can get relationally isolated. And what the devil would love to do is artificially create an environment where these needs aren't being met. And once he does that, then what he does is throws temptation into the mix where normally you would go, it's like a fly, just go, whatever. But when you're in this artificially stimulated environment, it's like this bubble of extra pressure that you'd not normally have to contend with. He can insert temptation once those criteria have been met. Now, temptation comes in a number of different ways, For guys, one thing you really want to look at is for porn's a big one. It's an insidious one because it's one that you can hide. In isolation, it's one that you can close your door in, close everyone else off to you and sort of contract within yourself. And it really, really flourishes. I think you'll find that there will be an absolute spike in porn addiction, drug-related habits during this isolation period. I know quite a few guys who their workmates aren't working, and they're finding they don't even want to go home because there's this horrible environment at home where the guys are just watching porn, getting drunk. They're not doing anything else but, trying to either numb themselves to a lack of their needs being met or just being given over to those addictions. It's just in some ways their way of coping, of being isolated, being disconnected spiritually from whatever source they have, or from relationship influences. They're just completely shut off, and they've contracted within themselves. So that's probably the big one to look for. And you might say, well, it seems like a pretty extreme picture, but remind yourself of the frog in the pot. Stick a frog in a pot. It's cold water when he starts. Turn it up gradually, and he'll stay there till he's dead because he doesn't notice the temperature rising so incrementally. It's exactly the same. If the devil could incrementally manufacture your situation or artificially create an environment where you unknowingly in this place of disconnection, then he can insert what he wants to into that space. What am I saying this for? It's just to be aware of, to look out for it. We don't realize where we are often until we look back and go, how did we get here? I'm not suggesting that, we're all suffer from porn addictions or from any other major addictions. But what I am saying is within this confined, constricted, artificial environment, just to be aware of what that can lead to. So I'm giving an extreme example of what that can lead to, so we can sort of be a little bit more open-minded and go, oh, I could actually get there. So, what do I do about that? So that's part two. Part two is how can I avoid getting to that stage, or even slipping into temptation, or slipping into that incremental adjustment of unhealthy mental state. Well, first one is stay connected. Do absolutely everything you can to stay connected. Zoom, FaceTime, phone calls, text. Do whatever you have to do to stay connected. If you got multiple housemates, you're all in the same household, so don't stay in your room. Get out of your room and socialise together. Do as much as you can with the space that you have. I guess there's a lot to be said for openness, right? Reading in the scriptures, so many times it talks about coming out of darkness and then walking in the light. And what that does is, from experience, I know for a fact, when you pull out of hiddenness and allow the light of God to shine on something and open yourself up to Him and to others helping you, it just takes this massive burden off. And it's the same with, I guess, battling the potential pitfalls of isolation. Is be open, be open to each other, be connected, but be very embracing about that. Don't hide anything. It's those hidden things where the devil loves to play. It is definitely his playground. Hey, pour out of yourself. I know most of us are focusing on what we can do to help others during this time. Others within our community, others, our next door neighbours. Those that we can help any way we possibly can. If we're going shopping, and buy a few extra things, stick it in the food bank. Buy some extra stuff for your neighbour, leave it on their doorstep. The point is, pour out. Don't internalise. Be proactive in blessing someone else. It'll help get you out of this state and into this state. Yeah. Spend time with the Lord. That's a big one. I guess it's a given, but we often forget. We can be in a mental state where it's so contracted and we just don't want to do anything. But combat that. Be proactive in a combating of that. Get busy, pour yourself out, look to meet other people's needs. I think we have a really good opportunity to bring the struggles that we sometimes have into the light in this time. We've all got a lot of time on our hands, unless we're still working, where we can gather around as much as we can and support each other. So basically, let's be really, really proactive about being open, about being connected, about staying connected, and let's amplify the thing that God wants to do. Like, He's in control, so let's use this time to build hope, build connection, to allow God to build in us the things that He wants to build. But that means to be proactive about it, to confidently walk away from that which would pull us away from Him. So I think let's go for that. I hope this has helped. It's quite brief, but I think that's all it needs to be. So we have a few more podcasts or videos that we're going to upload. I think Ani's got a couple that she wants to do. I think I've got one or two more that I want to do. So we'll look forward to the next one. I hope this has helped, but be proactive. Yeah. Let's go for change. See ya.